everyone, and welcome to On the Move, a show where we share transportation sales and marketing success stories. I am Jennifer Corpus-Romain, Executive Director of the Transportation Marketing and Sales Association, which is a trade nonprofit educating and connecting marketing and sales professionals in the space. And today on the show, I have Shan Wu, who is the co-founder of breadd.ai, and so excited to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jen? And by
I'm
the way,
doing great
that was
as
really
well, and excited to have you talk to you about all things sales, automation, breadd. Excited about it. So, can you tell us about breadd.ai, what it is, and how you guys started to get it going?
sounds good. So breadd.ai, it's a prospecting tool specialized for freight brokers and carriers. How it started was actually it's a long time coming. So I've been a sales rep all my career. My first job was a telephone racer. So that means, Jen, I'll be calling you and say, "We want to give me $200, I'll give you back nothing." Right? So I started by selling nothing. Then I started selling payment services, software consulting, and other banking services. And I had the fortune, or some will call misfortune, of also selling freight for 2 months when I started getting into this business. And that's when I realized selling freight is harder than selling nothing. It's
Mhm.
so hard,
It is.
right? So that sort of like sparked my curiosity to think, how can we make it easier, right? And then on the other hand, just like everyone I know, I'm also poisoned by social media. So there was this one night when I was doom scrolling through my phone when I was not having a good day, and before I know it, like 2 3 hours passed. Right, I'm just like scrolling and doing nothing, and then it hits me. It's so easy to be, controlled by the algorithm to scroll, but why can't we make the algorithms work for us and make us sell things brainlessly easy, like scrolling? So those two things combined became breadd. We are building a tool that makes it so easy to sell freight that it's like scrolling on your phone. So that's what this is all about.
I love that. And when you guys started, was that its original intention, or were you trying to solve like operational problems, or how did kind of it evolve from what you started and what you thought breadd would be to what it is today?
Yeah, we started this company. Now it's almost 2 years, 2 more years ago. The first problem we're trying to tackle was operational. These are low building, carrier communication and whatnot. And honestly, part of the reason was because that was the easy pie to try to go after.
Mhm.
It's a more standard process, and the technology, the roadmap is very clear of how to use AI to do that. But honestly, we brought something to the market. We have customers paying us thousands of bucks a month doing it, but the overall demand and the feedback from the brokerages and carriers were, yeah, it's nice, it works, but I don't really care, because honestly, you're automating the ops for my rep, so now I'm just paying them the same bucks, doing less work. You can call me back when you can help me sell. So really, it's coming from literally the customers asking us, help me sell, and I'll pay you some bucks. And we started to go into that business.
Well, I think that makes sense as an evolution, taking something like, okay, we thought this would be really useful, and it could be, but how do we do sales more effectively? And how do we create the tool to help sales be more effective? So I know you said that you sold freight for a time and you were like, this is hard. What a challenge, which I think so many people in this industry can feel. Was there a specific moment when you started this process and started building breadd that you were like, yeah, no, freight sales needs a shift. It needs to change. Or was it like your experience building up over time and then realizing what you could actually build to help?
Yeah, I think there are probably two moments where I had an aha moment. The first moment was when I read Carrot Brown's book,
Hmm.
The Revenue Engine. Matter of fact, this is not a prop. I'm standing on top of my bookshelf, but I have it with me.
I love
Uh,
that. Somebody else I was on a call with yesterday pulled that out and showed that to me too. I have
yeah,
mine. It's actually, I have a mess of books sitting behind me and other
nice.
things. So I'm not going to pull it out because it
Yeah,
will
yeah.
unravel. But I also have it in my near vicinity.
And it was an aha moment to me because of two things. Number one, the theory spoke true to me. And even honestly, in a way, it's not news to me, but just told in a very clear way because I've been selling tech and SaaS for a few years now, and so I think Kara done a really great job system, making it a comprehensive system of how to do it for the industry. But the aha moment was when then I go talk to all these sales leaders at brokerages and carriers, and I ask them about the concept of ICP targeting, specializing, and all these good practices. No one ever argues with me about not to do it, but no one also ever do anything about it.
Mm,
So I think that's the moment when I realized people would like to sell better and sell in a more effective way, but they do struggle to do so, and they
mhm,
probably need a way to make it happen. And my belief is they have enough tools and data and all these wonderful complex power tools sitting out there, but what they don't have is an easy enough way to piece everything together, because honestly, like, sales reps are not data analysts.
mhm.
They're not paid to do the job. It's not part of the job description, job requirement, and they're not trained to do so. So they need something that's so easy, that's like a toy, and that inspired me to be like, all right, I think that's something we can do here.
Yeah. And can you explain then how breadd.ai actually works for the sales rep when they're trying to utilize the platform?
Absolutely. Um, I think to talk about how it works, I'll just start with what goal is trying to achieve, right? Because overall, um, it's a prospecting tool and there's many out there, right? But
Mhm,
I think how we are different is I don't just want to find you any shipper or the same shipper or the top shippers, which I believe everybody calls, right? And then complain, man, I'm the 10th person called that day.
mhm,
So I want to find you the right shipper, niche shipper, sort of like under the radar shippers, right? And so how bread works is three steps. Number one, I'll take an ICP or an ideal customer profile from you. You just need to give me one example of somebody you moved freight for last week, or you want to move freight from next week, right? And then we translate that into a profile. And that sort of takes the 7 dimensions of what I think matters to moving freight. And then you just wake up to a list of 10 or 20 specific target that's in your niche. It's fully researched. You know about their span facilities, contact decision makers, and there's a number to call. So that's what we do for you.
very cool. And when you look at the way most brokers and carriers are selling today, what do you think is the biggest mistake that they're making?
Yeah, I think the mistake is there are two mistakes. Number one is thinking that spraying and praying still works. It doesn't.
It does not,
Um,
no.
but the second mistake is then go to the other extreme, I think, and think that you have to hyper personalize and target every single account, right? And then lose the volume. And that
Mm,
doesn't work neither because that doesn't scale. Because at the end of the day, and that's why I think it's easy for us to talk about what does not work. The hard part is what works, because
mhm.
it's kind of like people are stuck in a between a hard and a rock and a hard place, because it is a numbers game at the end of the day. You need the numbers and the math to work. It's just that you need a balance between high volume, but the conversion need to make sense as well, right? So I think the mistake is looking only to pull one of these levers and not the other.
And so that makes sense. And that's something that like they should really stop doing. Like stop thinking that you can just spray the same thing. And I would say even with that, like one mistake I see a lot is when they talk about how they can do everything. Like,
Hmm.
oh, like because I can mess in this email, I can do everything. But your customer or your prospect doesn't care if you can do everything. They want you to be able to do what they need you to do. So that's
Oh
what I
yeah,
think like your prospecting cool like put it because then at least if you're not spraying
yes,
everything with the same thing, you can at least categorize it and segment it. So,
that
cold shipping or like
yes,
whatever it looks like, you can put it into buckets and then at least semi personalize it for that particular capability.
I think that's so true. One thing I start just encouraging our user to do is to say you can be a specialist without. But how do I put it? Um, I think one of the most challenging part of sales strategy in freight is um, it, I speak to so many brokers and I ask them about what is your ideal customer profile, right? Where do
Hmm.
you specialize? And the number one answer I get from anybody is, anything goes. I can move everything, which is true because you can find capacity
Yes,
anywhere, right?
technically, yeah.
But on the flip side, what I'm trying to tell them is, yes, you can do everything, and you can specialize in everything.
Mm,
And the key is when you are telling and when you're communicating to a prospect, it doesn't fly anymore to say, I have a truck in your area because there are millions of trucks across the state and you're one of millions. It's a different thing to say, Jen, you mentioned, cold chain, right? I, I I encourage them to go even a step further to say, um, cabbage is in season right now, even in the
mm,
winter, right? These are winter greens. I have been a cabbage specialized, temp controlled commodity mover, right? And I came across your farm. I do this well, and I can do it for you. You can specialize in cabbage this week, right?
mm.
With this list of clients, and you can still specialize in flatbed to the next list of clients. The key is you have to specialize to your prospect every single time.
Mhm. And I think it's smart to also think about what you do specialize in, because
Yes,
especially in this market, yes, everybody wants to get the loads. They want to be able to move the freight, but you need to be able to move it successfully when you win it too.
that is true
And
too.
I feel like thinking about those ICPs, thinking like, I like how you said it, like, oh, we can specialize in cabbage this week and flatbed next week because we can do all that, and we're going to target our prospects based on these lists. But I see too people potentially stepping out of their ICP just to get the business, but
Yeah,
that can backfire on you because if you don't execute it well,
yeah,
then you're ruining your brand reputation too, and they're not going to want to come back to you. And so thinking about that, that's why I like the capability to like semi personalize it in what you can actually execute on.
absolutely. Because there are some battles that you should be losing, and you shouldn't fight those.
Hmm. Yep. So like really understanding your business, what you want to go after. I always encourage marketing teams to like check in on your sales teams and your account managers. What is your capability right now? What are you putting out there in your marketing messaging? Because if your capacity doesn't match, but you're trying to like push out there, that's not great either. So I know we talked about like quite a few things, but is there anyone else that like as a leader of a like freight sales team right now, what are the things that we should stop doing and what we should be doing instead?
Yeah. Oh, so many things. Stop everything.
Stop
Uh,
it.
I think the top two things I think people should stop is number one, stop calling any shipper. Right. I think we spoke about a little bit, but specifically, stop calling the same top 100 shippers that everyone else call. Right. I'm seeing this a lot, and I hear so much complaint about, oh, it's such a competitive market. Uh, people think I'm spamming them because they take 10 calls a day. That happens because you're calling the same people,
Yeah,
right?
because you are. You kind of are spamming them.
Because you are, because you are. But if I dig a little bit, underneath of why this is happening, this is not by intention, this is by design of the tools you use, right? I think most prospecting tools, uh, be it Apollo, ZoomInfo, or others, um, they tend to be a large database resold to everybody. As a result, it's a search engine and it's ranked, right? But the search criteria is not specific enough. So if everybody search food and beverage businesses, even packaged food businesses, there are thousands of packaged food businesses, right? So are you going to the 1,000th page of the search result to call those people? You are not. And if you're not, you're calling the same first 3 page of shippers.
Mhm.
And that is why you feel like it's so saturated. But in effect, it's about discovering. It's almost like in stock market, there's alpha, right? You have to go where other people don't go. You have to do that the same way when it comes to shippers too. So stop calling the same shippers and start calling some of these under the radar shipper. That's number
Mhm.
one. I have a number two too, because there's a lot of things people should stop.
Awesome. Great.
Number two is, as a sales leader specifically, stop making your reps think. Well, I know it might. I don't know whether it's controversial or not, right? But what I'm trying to get to is two things. Number one, it is the sales leader's job to not only think, come up with a strategy,
Mhm.
but make it executionable, right? Make it such that the rep can actually follow and do it. It's not really a good strategy when you say, hey, this is a good idea, go try it. How? I don't know, figure it out, right? So number one is that's part of the job. But number two, it's because the reps do not have the luxury, as you and I, sitting here today, thinking about strategy, right? Because
Mhm.
they are in the trenches. They just got a bounce last hour, right? And they're trying to just cover that load. Nobody's got time to think about it, right? Just like pilots rely on checklist manuals to fly airplanes, right? It's not because they're not smart, it's not because they're not capable, it's because in these high stress situations, the only way to ensure you're following the right strategy, the right way to go about things, is something so foolproof, right, that you cannot miss it. So I think an important part for sales leaders is really think about coming up with a strategy is step one, right? But
Mhm.
step two, have you served it on the plate? Have you made it so clear and so simple to follow that reps have no excuse or no reason to say, I don't know how to do it? So those are the things I wish
Yeah, no, I
people
think
stop.
that's really smart. I mean, of course, you want your sales reps to be able to understand, think through the
Yes,
plan, but
yes,
build the strategy, show them how to do it. I do think, like, even when we talk about like training of your team, it's always people talk about onboarding, but they don't talk about continued training. And so the market shifts, the market changes. Like you said, who knew cabbage would be a hot commodity right now? So, but like those are the types of tips that can be helpful to give your team and continue to train them. So it's more than just, oh, it's your first 3 months as your onboarding. This is how you sell freight. But like
yes.
the continued plan, the continued strategy, why you're ebbing and flowing, why you're moving these things now, giving those to your reps when they walk in the door so they're able to just execute and sell, I think is really solid advice.
Yes, because Jen, what you just described is kind of how software company and tech companies sell, right?
Mhm.
When I read Kara's book, it's all about you can sell freight like you're selling tech because if you want that growth rate, right, that's the model. But then the enablement behind that, you have a whole data team first of all, right? Finding all these data, right? Somebody's full-time job is to research and be like, what's the seasonality of commodities moving in your state? That's a job. Then there's a second job of creating the marketing message around that, and then there's the SDR job to get foot in the door, and then there's the AE job to close it, and then there's a full sort of like support success job to service it. In the freight world, usually all of those 5, 6 jobs are one person. So
Mm.
how do you expect them to, either they do one of those 5 jobs, right, or they do a very, crappy version of a little bit of each, right? So if you want them to succeed, you gotta staff them, right, either
Mm.
with a human resource or sometimes what I hope to do is create a tool that kind of like do the other 5 jobs, right, in,
Yep.
in a simple way.
Absolutely. I'm glad that we had kind of talked about the tech enablement and because that really segues into my next rounds of questions because there is so much hype around AI in logistics right now and all of the tools, but the tools also need to be assessed in their value and understand what they're actually giving you and what they can't actually give you and how we utilize our humans to do what they can do. So where do you see companies kind of getting the AI and logistics and sales enablement right, and then where are they getting it wrong?
I think when they get it wrong is similar to a little bit of what we talked about, which is they think if I just get these tools, and by the way, AI is like the new trend or the new phase of this tech wave, but there's nothing new under the sun. This happened
Right.
when
Yes.
it was called big data, when it was called, mark tech, when it was called something else, right? But the same sort of failure mode that is happening is um, companies will look at a exciting tech tool, AI or not, and its amazing promises. They'll even give it a try and then be like, okay, I can see this going on. And they'll buy it and then they'll put it on the desk of the rep and be like, here you go. And now you should be making me double the money, right?
Mhm.
What's missing is number one, the connection of the strategy, right? So to your point, making the rep understand they don't have to think in the trenches, right? But before they go in, just the start of the day, start of the month, start of the quarterly planning, help them understand why are you getting this tool and what is it doing in our strategy. A tool is a means to an end, right? And it's there to serve a cohesive strategy, which is there's
Mhm.
no replacement for. Number one, do that. Number two, it's then, to your point, continuous training, and making sure that it's not just like they now have login and they sign on the page once, and then that's training, right? Make sure that they get support, whether internal or from the vendor, right, to actually um, know how to use the tool, and you should be monitoring, are they actually using the tool, right? Because there's so many times where people waste money, buy the tool that just sit there on the shelf, right? Whereas it actually could be valuable and useful if there are investment in
Mhm.
implementing it and making sure people are on board.
Absolutely. Yes, I think so. I used to work in software, and that was always like when
Uh-huh.
people were like, "Oh, what's the best?" So was in like CRM
Right.
software. What's the best one? Well, the
Yes.
answer is what is the best for you and what you need and what your team needs to be successful. And they're like, "But no, what is the best one?" Again,
Yeah.
what does your team need? Ask them, hey, what does our current tool not do for you that you would love it
Yeah.
to do? And then you go from there, because then there's always like, okay, do we need a whole new system, or can we do an add-on or some type of integration that's going to help do that thing? And so I feel like understanding that, and then also the biggest thing is like, what are you getting for your price point? Because almost every
Yes.
software has tiers, and
Mhm.
make sure that you're not distracted with all the pretty bells and whistles on that top tier that you're not paying for,
Yes.
because you need to make sure. So I do think that, like, yes, like you said, hey, AI might be the trendy new word today, but every trendy tech word that came before it was the same. Hey,
Yeah.
see what its capabilities are, see if it actually enables your team to be more successful and at a price point you can afford. That's a really good starting
There you
point.
go. I love it.
And I do think, though, like when AI is being used properly, it can unlock capabilities that freight salespeople didn't have before.
Absolutely.
What do you think some of those pieces are when people are actually utilizing the tools in the best way?
I'll talk about two sort of AI specific successes I've seen. One related to sales and what we do, and the other is not even what we do, but I just saw it worked. So what works in sales now is so we spoke about this dynamic of spray and pray don't work, but hyper personalizing every single account doesn't scale neither,
Mhm.
right? So if you need both volume and conversion, it's almost like you have to make a choice. AI, when used right, and that's how we do it, can help you have both and have it all. Specifically, um, because AI is, I mean, there's so much under the word AI, right? But specifically in the case of how we use it, because you could use AI to comprehend and tag, index, and understand different companies and different shippers of what they do, and break it down to a very granular level beyond the typical search engine filter of food and beverage, right? For example, um, under food and beverage, there's produce, packaged food, and others. Under produce, there's winter greens and others, and under winter green, there's cabbage, right? So the typical prospecting tool won't go that deep and allow you to specialize, but because we're using AI to kind of read what they do and everything, we can, and as a result, you're getting a specialized list of that commodity, which then helps you spray within this very targeted niche, right? But you are not doing homework one by one. You're doing homework once and then applying to many in a high conversion rate. So that's one thing I've seen it worked in sales. In marketing, and this is actually something I learned at the TMSA conference just
Mm.
2 weeks ago. Um, and because marketing is actually, I'm new to marketing.
Oh, good.
I have to be, yeah,
Yeah.
I have to be honest. I'm learning.
Well,
I've been
awesome. Glad we could teach things.
thank you. That's why I signed up. Uh, I've been a sales rep all my life, right? So my go-to thinking is sell, call them, right? Have a conversation and close right now. ABC, right?
Mhm.
Um, it really opens my sort of eyes when I start talking to the marketing teams, right? Not just marketing teams um, uh, um, selling freight, but also even the marketing consultant at
Mhm.
TMSA. And what I learned is, number one, not everybody is ready to buy at
Mhm.
all the time. So sometimes the conversation, if you go to somebody who is not thinking about you, not trying to buy, and you be like, "Hey, we need to close right now," they just think you're pushy, aggressive, and annoying
Mhm.
because that's the truth, right?
Mhm.
So there's a different things about how do you nurture them, how do you bring awareness and all that. In the past, the answer is a quote unquote personalized campaign, right? Where we say, hello, bracket first name.
Mhm.
I am from right XYZ. I something in bracket your industry and whatnot, right? So that's the type of personalization, which I think when I get an email myself as well, I can see it's a little bit scripted, right? And it connects less. One thing I learned at the TMSA conference 2 weeks ago was some folks are now using AI to do a per recipient level full personalization, right? So what they do is they don't say, "Hey, ChatGPT, go crazy," say anything, right? They would teach ChatGPT like how you would mentoring a sales rep or a marketing rep, and be like, our strategic goal is this, and these are the core messages we want, right? These are the data points about this specific company, whether it's their location, this person's sort of LinkedIn post and personal activity, company news and whatnot. And now use all of this, create a different message for every single person. So that blew my mind. And later on, I checked with a couple of my tech friends who tried it actually, and they're telling me it's higher conversion, right? You go
Mhm.
from probably 2% sort of conversion from cold marketing campaign to 5, which is it's doubling, right? And
Mhm.
that's powerful.
Well, I'm glad that you came to TMSA and you were able to learn things, which is just, I think, so you were at the Executive Summit, and that whole event is designed for leaders in the space to come together, and then Elevate is designed for everybody to come together. But we actually will be kind of taking a track-based model next year, so really excited to dive into that more. But
Nice.
I do think that one of my favorite things when I came to TMSA. So before I led TMSA, I was a member, and it's exactly that, but I was the opposite. So I was on the marketing side, and I was like, "Where are the salespeople? Tell me what I can do to actually
Yeah.
enable my sales team, and what is actually helpful for them, and how can we do this more effectively together? And I don't want to sound stupid to my sales team, so like, what can I do to sound smart?" And
Yeah.
so I loved that about TMSA, because you could find people who are in your similar job role, and you can commiserate and learn and do that, but you can also find people that are on the other parts, or if you're growing in your career, you can find a leader or whatever. So I
Absolutely.
am curious. So like, that was your first kind of experience. Like, I know we touched
Yeah.
base, we were hoping that you were able to come, and so glad that we were able to make that work. You joined as a partner member, which we're so thankful for you to be in the organization. What role do you think associations like TMSA play in helping sales and marketing teams evolve over time?
Um, I think it is what we spoke about, which is it's actually education, right?
Mhm.
Um, I've without naming any names, I've been involved with a couple different associations, right? Which I think everybody's intention is to educate, right? But often association can evolve into a vendor marketplace.
Mm,
And that is dangerous because I think the transaction, the sales, I'm a vendor. Of course, I would
mhm.
love to sell to more folks, right?
Yeah,
Hey, everybody at TMSA listening, please buy me. I still
right.
listen to it. But I think that comes after the education. People need
Mhm,
to, everything we spoke about today, picking the right tool, making sure it's useful, not just try something and then churning a couple months.
mhm,
All of that, it's such a wonderful opportunity to be in association for people on the vendor side to share real, tangible, successful stories of how things are working without making any asks and demands,
mhm,
right? And then see what it leads to, right? And on the other hand, um, uh, de-emphasize the transaction nature of it and just start with just real human connection. Like Jenna, I met you,
mhm,
and it was really fun, right? And
mhm,
I made other folks at the conference who now I'm still in touch, and some of we even went for dinner, right? Like
mhm.
after the
Awesome.
tackle, which
I
was
love that.
tasty, but we went. So I think that the role associations can play it's exactly that. Number one, forms and genuine human bonds. And
Mhm.
number two, then just put smart people in the same room, make them exchange notes. They'll learn a lot more than the most fancy sort of big
Mhm.
presentation ever.
Yeah. I like that you said that, like, especially from the vendor perspective. Like, that is something that we are very always cognizant and of from like the TMSA leadership side, because we love our partner members. We want to continue to diversify our partner members. Like, you're coming in as a new prospecting tool for sales. That's something that we really haven't had in the mix before, in that way. And so we want to diversify the potential partner network, but also bring in people who are intentional about the education and wanting to learn themselves. Because that's something, like, when I sat in like our strategy building for next year, I'm like, our best partners are the ones who are coming to TMSA to learn also, and to then potentially share thought leadership, and then at the end potentially get ROI and make business deals. The ones that come in hot and just like try to like hard sell everybody, people don't like love that.
Yeah,
And I like, that's, I remember telling you before you became a partner, I'm like,
yeah,
where do you land on this? Because this will be successful for
important.
you if
Yeah,
you believe in the education first. It might not be if you just want to
yeah,
like hard sell everybody. And that's been part of like my sales pitches when I have bring partner members in, because we want people to feel like they're part of the community, that they're not being sold to all the time. And then, yes, have potential solutions that can make their lives easier too. So I think that that's, especially coming to your first show, I love that that was your takeaway from it. So very
yeah.
cool.
It was a fun time. I'm glad I went.
Awesome. So I have one last question for you before you leave, and it's something I ask everybody who comes on the show. And if you could go back in time and advise a younger version of yourself anything, either personally or professionally, what would you go back to and what would you say?
It depends on how old am I going back, right?
Well, that's it. You get to pick your age.
To 3-year-old me, I would say, just no. I actually don't know if I have an answer.
Mm,
Because
tricky.
I
Remember.
hear this question right in the podcast. It's always the last question.
Mhm,
Um, I actually don't have any advice for the younger me because I think all of the important ones I've heard it at the right time from the right folks.
mm,
I'm pretty lucky and feel um, fortunate and happy about my life. There's been ups and downs. There's been ups and downs and downs and downs and downs and some ups, but I think each one of those downs were uh, just where when it should have been. So I appreciated it, and
mm.
yeah, no
Well,
advice.
then I think the lesson there
Yeah,
is to take every moment that you're given and learn from it and grow from it, and not be afraid to move forward and move on from it. So
good advice.
yes, there you go. So perfect. Thank you so much for coming on the show. So good to meet you in person a few weeks ago, and such great advice. So thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you, Jen. It's been a pleasure.